actually looked like in a completely different way. And he didn't describe it just as he didn't describe that as just 4 words, let there be light. See, in his gospel, he starts with, in the beginning was the Word. And then he says, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And then he says, that Word was made flesh. And then as he keeps going on, he says, and light entered the world when the Word was made flesh. And so John describes those 4 words as let there be light as the Word that was made flesh being released into the earth, which is so much more than 4 words. Do you see what I'm saying? So within the 4 words of let there be light, it encompasses everything that was contained and revealed in the birth, the death, the burial, the resurrection, and the ascension of Jesus. And so it was essentially God releasing Christ into the earth, the Christ, and not just the Christ that was contained in the Son of Man, but all of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge that's contained in God.
That's good.
Was released when he said, let there be light. Paul described Jesus in 2 Corinthians 3 as the Spirit of faith. Right. And so when God said, let there be light, he released the entirety of the Spirit of faith into the earth, into the face of the deep, into the earth that was without shape or form. He released the entirety of the Spirit of faith. He didn't just say, let there be light. You see? Yeah. And so when we think of let there be light, it means so much more, man. I mean, think about all the messages that I've preached. Think about all the different nuances we've come at and looked at and revealed and talked about. All the different things that I've said about offense and rejection and hurt and being bonded together in peace and faith and all those things. Every single message we could, if we wanted to, we could ball it up into one thing, and they're actually all declaring, let there be light. Yeah. All of them. Right. Let there be light. And that's what Paul talked about. He said, now, because of what Jesus did, because he's a man and he ascended to the right hand of God, the Spirit was poured out on all flesh, and now we, having the same spirit of faith inside of us, inside of this earthen vessel, the same spirit of faith that created all things, we have inside of this earthen vessel. And we, having the same spirit of faith as God had when he called forth light out of the darkness, we are calling forth people out of the darkness into the light. Yes. And so whenever you actually hear the gospel, in whichever way you hear it, it's actually the declaration of let there be light. It's actually the releasing of the spirit of faith over the face of the deep. It's the releasing of the spirit of faith over this earth that is still without shape and form in some ways. It's the releasing of the spirit of faith over people, right? Yeah. Over their hearts, to give shape and form to their hearts, to echo the words that God echoed in the beginning of Genesis when he said, let there be light. You release the gospel, and that gospel starts echoing inside of their hearts, reverberating, let there be light. Let there be light. I mean, even right now as we sit here listening to the gospel, the words, let there be light, the substance of it is echoing and reverberating inside of our hearts and inside of our bones and inside of every cell of our bodies, calling forth light out of whatever darkness could be anywhere in any of our bodies. Wow. That's cool.